Emma? He was shocked, confused. Is she alive? How can she be young as before? How this is possible? She hasn't aged a day. But she was died 25 years ago. He was panicking with stress and confusion. An aging billionaire spots his long-dead first love in a crowd. Still young, unchanged. And what he uncovers next changed everything about his love, loss, and a big secret. About his ex he never knew. But before we start the video, let us know where you're watching this video, and if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe Story Store, and please share your thoughts about this story in comment section. The red light flickered to a stop. The streets of New York pulsed with life. Cars honking, vendors shouting, people rushing past each other like they were racing time. Inside a sleek black Bentley, 55-year-old billionaire Richard Coleman sat still, staring blankly through the tinted glass. The world outside moved fast, but inside him, time had long stopped. His fingers absent-mindedly tapped the steering wheel as he drifted through another storm of boardroom decisions and soulless investment talks. Money had come in waves, but peace had drowned long ago. And then she passed. A young woman in a pale blue dress cutting through the crowd like light through fog. She wasn't just familiar, she was Emma. His heart stuttered. He blinked. Once, twice. No mistake. Same walk, same face, same eyes, same Emma. Except Emma had died 25 years ago. He slammed open the car door without thinking. "Emma!" he shouted. His driver jumped, startled, as Richard pushed through the stream of strangers, eyes locked on the girl's figure weaving ahead. His breath came hard, uneven, as he stumbled past suits and briefcases, past laughter and chaos, chasing a ghost he'd buried decades ago. "Wait," he called again. But she never looked back. By the time he reached the corner, she was gone, vanished into the city's rhythm as if she had never existed. He stood still, chest heaving, ears ringing. A girl who looked exactly like her, untouched by time. How? His driver caught up. "Sir, what's wrong?" Richard didn't answer. He just stared at the empty space ahead, where his past had just walked by like a vision from another life. He had buried Emma. Or so he was told. The grave, the accident, the lies. But now, doubt twisted in his chest like a blade. He whispered to himself, "It was her." And just like that, the tightly sealed coffin of his past cracked open. Suspense trigger. She hasn't aged a day, but Emma died 25 years ago. "Sir, what just happened?" Richard ignored his driver's question, his gaze locked on the crowd that had swallowed her. Panic bubbled in his chest as he shoved past people, his voice hoarse. "Emma!" But the city was indifferent. It kept moving. She was gone. He stood frozen at the corner trying to catch his breath, sweat on his brow despite the spring chill. It couldn't be. Emma was buried. He remembered the grave, the flowers, the quiet sobbing of his sister beside him. And yet, that face, that look, no one could fake that look. He returned to the car in a daze, slamming the door shut. Notifications flashed on his phone. Board meeting in 10 minutes, a missed call from a journalist, a message from his assistant. None of it mattered. His mind had been hijacked by the past. 25 years ago, Emma was everything, sunlight and wildfire. Rebellious, kind, maddeningly alive. He was poor then, full of dreams and nowhere to go. But she loved him. Then one day, she vanished. They said she died in an accident. No details, no closure, just a cold funeral and a family that told him to forget her. He tried. For years, he tried. But today, the lie cracked. Was it a hallucination? A ghost? Or had Emma never died at all? Richard stared out the window, heart pounding. The past wasn't done with him. And for the first time in years, He wasn't sure if that was a curse or a second chance. Sleep was impossible. Richard spent the night replaying her face in his mind, the way her hair moved in the wind, the flicker of recognition in her eyes before she turned away. It wasn't just resemblance. It was her. By sunrise, obsession had taken over. He called his assistant. "Get me the street CCTV. I need footage from 5:42 p.m. yesterday. Intersection of 5th and Lexington." Every angle within hours, the grainy footage arrived. Frame by frame, he scanned it. Then, there, at timestamp 5:42:7. She paused, turned her head, looked directly at his car. Richard froze the frame. She was Emma. His fingers trembled. Flashes of the past flooded in. Emma's laughter echoing in alleyways, her head on his chest, the way she once said, "If anything ever happens, don't believe what they tell you." Back then, he didn't understand. She'd been distant those last few weeks, said she was late, but smiled it off. Then gone, vanished overnight, no note, no goodbye. His letters returned unopened. The funeral, a closed casket. His family said, "She's gone. Move on." He tried, buried himself in business, built an empire brick by brick. But now the cracks were back. He whispered to the screen, "Why didn't you come back?" And another thought crept in like a chill. What if she couldn't? Fate had a cruel sense of humor. The next morning, Richard's assistant walked in with a stack of intern applications. He wasn't paying attention, until a familiar face caught his eye. He nearly dropped his coffee. Eliza Summers, her age, applying for a marketing internship. His heart hammered as he stared at her photo. The same eyes, the same smile, only a new name, a new life. So, she changed her name, her identity, so I can't reach her. "She's here?" he asked, voice tight. "Yes, sir. She's in the waiting area." He stood abruptly. "Send her in, now." When she entered, time bent again. She was calm, confident, her posture graceful. The very image of youth. But Richard saw through it. He saw Emma. "Eliza, have we met before?" he asked, barely able to contain himself. She blinked. "No, sir." His jaw clenched. "Are you sure?" A pause. Just a flicker of something, fear, recognition, guilt. But she smiled politely. "I think you're mistaken." Rage surged up like a flame. So this is how she wanted to play it? "I don't forget faces," he said coldly, "especially not ones that haunt me." She didn't respond, just nodded and walked out, calm as ever. Richard stared at the door after she left, hands trembling. Why was she lying? He was thinking, "Emma, why are you doing this? Why are you pretending? Are you trying to punish me?" He wasn't sure yet, but one thing was certain. He wasn't letting her disappear again. Richard couldn't focus on anything else. Meetings blurred, calls went unanswered. His mind kept circling back to Eliza's face, and that flicker in her eyes. She knew something. But why lie? He sat alone in his office, staring out the window, memories pressing in like ghosts. There was one day, years ago, Emma had been quiet, distant. They were lying on a park bench, her head on his shoulder, and she said something strange. "If anything ever happens, I want you to remember that I tried to tell you." Back then, he brushed it off. Thought she was being dramatic. Young love had a way of turning everything into poetry, but now those words echoed louder. Was she trying to tell him something, a secret, a warning? And what if Eliza wasn't just a girl who looked like Emma? What if she was connected? A daughter? The thought made his chest tighten. He called his assistant. "I want you to follow her, discreetly, no mistakes." Hours later, a message arrived. Eliza had gone home. Not to a dorm, not to a friend's apartment. to a small, quiet house in a worn-out suburb. The assistant sent a photo, and Richard's heart stopped. There was a woman in the window. His eyes widened with shock. Emma. She was old and tired, but she was alive. Yes, alive. He can't wait to see her with his own eyes. So he drove his car and parked 2 houses down, heart pounding like a war drum. The neighborhood was nothing like the world he now ruled, quiet, worn, ordinary. It didn't belong to someone like her. Through the front window, curtains half drawn, he saw her. Emma. Not a dream, not a ghost. Emma. Alive. She moved slowly, folding laundry at a table, her hair streaked with gray, her frame thinner, but her presence undeniable. As if time had paused only for her, and yet left its quiet scars. Richard gripped the steering wheel. Questions screamed inside him. Why did she vanish? Why didn't she come to him? Why lie for decades? And the girl, Eliza. Was she the secret Emma tried to tell him? Was she his daughter? His throat tightened. He wanted to knock, to scream, to hold her, but fear pinned him in place. Instead, he drove away, broken all over again. Only now, the pain came with clarity. The past wasn't buried. It had been living, just without him. Richard burst into his sister Catherine's estate like a storm. She looked up from her tea, startled. "Richard? You lied to me," he said, voice trembling. "She wasn't dead. Emma's alive." Catherine's face drained of color. "Where is she?" he shouted. "Why did you do this to me?" Catherine's hands trembled. She sat down slowly, as if the weight of the past had finally caught up to her. "She was pregnant, Richard," she whispered. "Our parents found out. They were furious. Said she was ruining your future. They gave her a choice. Leave, or they'd make her suffer." Richard's breath hitched. "You let them send her away?" "I begged them to stop, but you were so focused on building your future. They thought she was a distraction." Catherine broke down, tears slipping through her mask of control. "She left to protect the baby, to protect you." Richard turned away, fists clenched, heart shattered. All this time, Emma hadn't abandoned him. She'd been forced to disappear for their child. Eliza stood at the window in Richard's office, watching the skyline as if searching for answers. When the door closed behind them, he cleared his throat. "I know who you are," he said quietly. She turned slowly, cautious. "Sir? I know you're Emma's daughter, and all I just want to say that I'm your father." Silence, then a soft laugh, disbelieving. "Is this some kind of joke? I'm not joking." He opened a drawer and placed a DNA report and a weathered photograph on the desk. Emma, young and glowing, in his arms. Behind it, old letters, her handwriting still elegant and aching with love. Eliza's expression cracked. She told me stories about someone she once loved, but never said his name. Her voice trembled. She said he thought she left him, that he might hate her if he knew. "I never stopped looking," Richard whispered. "They lied to me. They told me she died." Eliza's breath caught. She picked up the photo with shaking hands, eyes welling. "You're him." He stepped closer. "I've missed every moment of your life, but if you'll let me." She couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears falling freely now. And in that moment, daughter and father met. Not in words, but in the silence of everything lost, and finally found. Eliza led Richard through the quiet neighborhood as the sun dipped low. Every step felt surreal, like walking toward a memory he never thought he'd touch again. "She doesn't know you're coming," Eliza whispered at the doorstep. "She's not the same woman you remember. Life hasn't been easy." Richard nodded, barely breathing. The door creaked open. Emma appeared, holding a tea towel, her hair pulled back, her face older, but those eyes, they still held galaxies. She froze. The towel slipped from her hand and fluttered to the floor. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her knees buckled slightly, and she gripped the doorframe like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "Richard?" she whispered, as if speaking his name might undo the years. He stepped forward. "I thought you were dead." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "They said you moved on, that you didn't want me." He shook his head, voice cracking. "I never stopped looking." And then, after 25 years, they fell into each other's arms. No anger, no blame, just raw, overwhelming grief and love finally colliding. Eliza stood at a distance, watching the embrace that rewrote her entire history. Her parents had just found each other again. That night, the three of them sat in Emma's small living room, no lights except the warm glow of a single lamp. Silence filled the space, not heavy, but waiting. Richard broke it first. He told Emma everything, how he searched for her, how her family swore she had died, the funeral, the grave, the years of torment, the empire he built, trying to fill the hole she left behind. Emma listened, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I wanted to tell you," she whispered, "but your parents found out I was pregnant. They threatened me, said if I stayed, I'd lose the baby. I didn't care about myself, but I couldn't risk her." She looked at Eliza, voice trembling. "So I left. I changed my name. I raised her alone. Every birthday, every first step, I imagined you beside me." Richard reached for her hand. "I would have fought for you. I wanted to fight for you. I know," she said, "but I had to protect her first." They stayed up all night, unraveling years of silence, stitching truth over old scars. And for the first time in decades, it didn't hurt to remember. It only hurt to imagine what could have been, if they'd never been torn apart. The next morning, they walked together through the park where it all began. Older now, quieter, but somehow more complete. Richard paused beneath the old oak tree where they once carved their initials. Time had worn the bark, but the faint letters still remained. Emma touched it gently. "I used to dream of this place," she said. "Of us." He smiled, then dropped to one knee, not out of grand gesture, but pure, trembling emotion. "I don't care how many years we lost," he said. "Let's not waste another day." Emma gasped softly, hand over her heart. Eliza, standing nearby, wiped her eyes. "Yes," Emma whispered, voice breaking. "Yes, finally." They embraced beneath the old tree, where love had once begun, and now quietly began again. No lies, no fear, just them. Two hearts that had waited far too long to find their way back. "I lost you once," he said gently, slipping a ring onto her finger. "But this time, I'm never letting go. Will you marry me?" Emma's eyes shimmered. I waited half my life to hear those words. Eliza stood close, smiling through tears. The wedding was simple, just the way they wanted. No headlines, no paparazzi. Only a quiet garden, soft music, and the people who mattered. Richard stood under the blooming cherry tree, holding Emma's hands as the breeze carried petals around them. They exchanged vows full of laughter, pain, and healing. Promises not of perfection, but of presence. When the music played, Richard held her close, and they danced, slow, steady, hearts finally at peace. Eliza joined them, their little family swaying under the open sky. The world faded. She was no longer just the girl in the crowd. She was his bride, his love, his home, forever found.